There you go. Hang on. That looks promising. Yep. It's live now.
Oh, yeah, I can see it. Okay, so I think that is now working. Sorry, next time I'll try and do that a bit earlier because it was slightly problematic.
Okay, do you think we should start then? Because it's 19:38. Yes?
Yes, please.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Bletchley and Fenny Stratford Town Council full council meeting, our first one ever on Zoom, streaming live on Facebook. So first of all, we will start the meeting with to note any apologies for absence.
There are apologies for absence from Councillor Hyde, who may join us later, but was not able to join at the beginning. And we've just heard from Councillor Arshad.
Okay, thank you. To members to declare any interests on the agenda. Okay, can't see anybody indicating. We'll move on then to approve the minutes from the previous meeting held on the 3rd of March.
Chairman, I have a poll for this, and I have a poll for most of the votes that are anticipated on the meeting. If anybody wants a recorded vote, they will need to indicate, because these polls are only suitable for unrecorded votes tonight, because I haven't asked everyone to register. If we want a recorded vote, then everyone has to register in order to join the meeting, and I didn't do that tonight. So if we want a recorded vote, we need to do it in a different way.
Just to declare it.
Yeah, so I'll launch that poll now, and also just to inform you that, as you can see, Councillor Smith has just joined the meeting, so just unmute her and make sure she can hear. Could you do that, Jill, for me, please, while I launch the poll?
Shush.
Okay, everybody voted?
We've had 11 out of 13, so that'll be Jill and you, Angela, because you're...
Oh, I voted.
Oh, no. It'll be Jill and it'll be Rosemary, who's only just joined.
Okay.
And I don't know if she's... Can you hear us, Councillor Smith? Hello?
Hello?
Hello, Councillor Smith, can you hear us?
Hello?
Hello?
I don't know.
Can you hear us, Rosemary?
Yes.
Good. We can hear you, but we can't see you.
Okay.
Do you want to join with video, or would you prefer to just
no,
stay
you
as
don't
you
want
are?
you don't want to see me with when I need a haircut. Seriously.
That's fine then. We'll leave you as you are.
Thank you.
I'll hand back to you, Chairman.
No, thank you. So we've done the minutes vote, and that I assume was all gone through because you didn't show the result.
I'm doing it now.
Okay, that's lovely, thank you. Okay, to move on to item 4, which is to note and approve the minutes of the planning meeting held on the 3rd of March. That's another poll.
It is another poll. I've just got to move on. Can you see that one yet?
Has everybody voted?
I think we're one short again. I wonder if Councillor Smith is able to vote because she wasn't here for the practice meeting. She might not know how to deal with that one. Have you been able to vote, Councillor Smith?
Yes,
Good.
yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I did.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Okay then.
So
Okay.
those minutes are approved.
Thank you. Now we move to item 5, which is public speaking, and we haven't had any requests, I believe.
That's correct. No members have requested to speak.
Okay. We'll now move on to item 6, to approve the postponement of the annual meeting 2020 and amendment of standing orders and arrangements for virtual meetings.
Yeah, I suspect that some members may wish to speak on this one, so
Yep.
You might like us
raise
to
their hands on the
Yeah.
remote raise their hands.
I think
please.
Councillor Hume's at the top of the list.
Okay, Councillor Hume.
Hi there. I just wanted to have a look at this and look at the papers. I think there's 2 recommendations in there. I would like to propose that we go with recommendation 2, and which doesn't include the option of postponing an annual meeting until next year. And the reason for that is I do feel we should have an annual meeting this year. Now that we are able to meet remotely, I can't see a reason why we should not. It's part of the democratic function of this council. One of the things that we do. And secondly, I think it's really important that we do have a chance to have a vote on some of the positions that we have in this council, so the vice chair being one of them, considering the outcome of the Milton Keynes Standards investigation that was reported to this full council in March. I do think it's time that this, as an opportunity now that standards committee and that outcome has happened, that we have the opportunity to vote on whether we would like the vice chair to continue or not.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I don't have anyone else wanting to speak. Does anybody want to speak?
I think Councillor Porter wishes to speak and Councillor Graham.
Okay, on my list I've got Councillor Graham first, but what one was
that
first?
May be right. My eyes were on the other screen because I'm trying to log into my report on another screen. Chairman,
okay, so Councillor Graham. I can't unmute yet. So.
Yeah,
I think Jill's unmuted.
No.
Councillor Graham should be able to speak now.
yeah. I understand where. Well, I don't understand where Councillor Hume's coming from. Why he's now raising the standards board or committee or whatever the situation is, the outcome of that has got nothing to do with this council. It's something that happened nearly 2 years ago. Why he's raising this to this council right here, right now, it's I don't understand why. What that's got to do with my position, I don't know. I don't get why he's raising the subject now. He's trying to do. I don't understand what he's trying to do and why he feels that it's only the vice chairman's position that needs to be contested. Why he's raising this subject now 2 years later and bringing it to the forefront of this meeting, considering we've got a whole wealth of things to do in this council, the stability of the council, the stability of members of the public. And I don't believe that this is in the public's interest to raise something that's gone on 2 years previously beforehand and allow this council to vote on something that has got nothing to do with anybody else. I don't feel that I should be put in a position that this council then starts to judge me and my position as vice chairman via what's happened at Milton Keynes Council and the Standards Board. It's something that this council should not, and I don't believe anyone on this council should not pass judgment on my credibility as vice chairman via what was said at the standards board. You know, this council is not judge, jury and executioner. I'm not going to be put in a position where this council judges me on anything that the standard boards have said. What's done is done. The past is a past. We need to move on, and we've got a lot of work to do as a council. So I just don't understand why Councillor Hume persists in trying to bring this to the forefront of this council when we've got other work to do. That's my lot.
Thank you. So then we've got Councillor Porter.
I was just going to clarify, was that a motion from Councillor Hume to be put forward? Yes, so I'd like to second that.
Okay. Right, the thing we need to, I think also we need to put it into perspective. One, the recommendation that's come through from, correct me Delia, who it's come through from now.
Well, the recommendation, the legislation was changed to, my understanding is that the thinking behind the legislation was that the legislation was changed to recognise that town and parish councils had a lot of other things to concern themselves with at the present time in responding to the COVID pandemic, and also there were practical difficulties in the way of holding remote meetings. So at the same time that the legislation was passed to enable remote meetings to take place, the legislation also included the opportunity not to postpone the May annual meeting either all the way until next May 2021 or until a future date to be determined by the council, possibly when the lockdown might or might not have finished and meetings could take place. However, the legislation does still permit the annual meeting to go ahead should the council be so minded to have the annual meeting. I do know of one council in the Milton Keynes area, which is Newport Pagnell, who have had their annual meeting. However, the majority of clerks I've spoken to, including our neighbours in West Bletchley and various others, Woughton and so on, they have chosen to follow the advice from NALC, which is, you know, to try and maintain continuity and not have the meeting, postpone the meeting. Having said all that, I think it was a recommendation from NALC, but with the proviso that if the council wanted to and felt competent to, it could still have the annual meeting. So that's the position. It's entirely a matter for members to decide.
Thank you for that input. So the majority of councils, all bar one, have remained the same.
The ones I know about locally and also across the sector, I think it's fair to say that across the sector, most councils are not holding an annual meeting. But as I say, that's not, you know, each council that makes its own decisions.
And we could have an annual meeting in the summer if we wanted, if things.
You could have the legislation permits you to have an annual meeting at any time. So you could pass a resolution tonight and say that the next meeting of the council will be your annual meeting, or you could pass a resolution to say we'll do it in the autumn or at a future date unspecified, or, you know, cancel it completely for the year until next May. You can determine the terms of the resolution, the motion. I think Councillor Hume's already put forward a motion which is not to postpone it, but it doesn't specify when the annual meeting should take place, and we might be prepared to accept an amendment to that.
Okay. Could I ask a question, Councillor Hume, with what you've said tonight, if that's okay?
Yeah.
Come
back at the end of this debate as a proposer. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The question I've got, is it the thought that, because obviously a democratic vote is tonight, whether you vote to stay as it is or not, so that's the democratic vote there. Is it that you don't want it to stay the same committees, the the standing orders to stay the same, or is it, as you've put in your proposal, that it is the vice chair because of this code of conduct is the crux of your motion?
Question.
That's my question. Okay.
Do you want me to answer now, or shall I answer? Or can I answer at the end of the debate?
Do you want to do it at the end in case other people want to talk? Yeah, that'd be good. That was just my question. I've got Keith, Councillor Ely, wishing to speak. He's on mute.
Jill,
Councillor.
can you unmute Jill, please? I've lost my screen for a minute.
All right,
Okay, sorry, Keith, we couldn't hear you. You have to start again.
okay, it's a question for the proposer, Ed. Ed, is it solely the question, the reason for your request is that to obtain a vote on the vice chairmanship of the council?
He's going to answer all the questions at the end, I think, Keith.
Or is he? Oh, right, that's my question. That's it, finished. Hang on.
Thanks. Does anybody else wish to speak? Nope. Okay, back to you, Councillor Hume.
I think Richards has got his hand up again.
Oh.
Unless if you want, it's up to you, Chair.
Okay. It's just to change something you've already said.
No, I was just trying to get clarification on when Ed was going to reply to some of these questions. Is it the end of the debate now or at the end of the voting?
At the end of the debate now.
Okay.
Okay. So has anybody else got anything to say before we move for Ed to give his response?
No.
Okay, I've got no one with their hand up. So I'm going to go to Councillor Hume.
Yeah, thank you for those points. I think the primary reason is about democracy, as the clerk has pointed out, that actually if councils feel they are competent enough to do an annual meeting online, then if they so wish, they should be able to do it. I think it's important that we can have a say in terms of the structure of the council each year. I think that's an important way of reviewing how we're doing. In terms of my personal view, in terms of the committee structure, I think the committee structure is okay for this year, with maybe some changes around the planning and the standing orders with the changes of related to how we do public meetings online, absolutely fine with. That's my personal view. My question is around one of the things that I would like to review is the outcome of the Standards Committee investigation from the incident 2 years ago. The incident only concluded in March this year. So actually, we didn't know what the outcome is in that. And I think it is fair that the Standards Committee, that actually I didn't bring this up in a council meeting until such time that the Standards Committee had completed their investigations. I noticed Councillor Graham mentioned it is around Milton Keynes Council. Actually, the code of conduct was based on the being a councillor at Bletchley and Fenny Stratford Town Council, and I do think it is now that that report has come out, and it is and it was in the minutes of the March meeting. We should have I would like to be able to have a say on the vice chairmanship on the back of that. So that's part of my reason, but the main reason is around the democratic function of this council.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
A recorded vote.
Okay then.
Chairman,
So,
if it's a recorded vote, please can we go round by name, because as I explained, we can't use the poll to do a recorded vote.
okay, so we do a record. I'm going to do them in order of what's on my screen. Is that all right?
That's great.
Okay, so the first, so this is whether we vote to stay for Ed's motion to have an annual general meeting.
At a time unspecified.
I'm happy to take an amendment on that, maybe the June or July. If that's, I'm happy to. Can I propose that's an amendment, June or July, if the seconder is okay with that?
Okay, so Sean, I'm getting the indication that you're happy with that amendment. Thank you. Okay, so we will start with Councillor Kelly Wilson. Jill, you need to unmute him.
Yeah.
Could I just have
Councillor
clarity
Kelly.
on what the actual motion is, please?
It's a motion to have an annual general meeting in July,
June or
I'm not-
July.
June or July,
I'm not for the motion. I'm against the motion.
against the motion.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then I've got Councillor Brown. Sam,
I'm against the motion too.
thank you. Councillor Porter,
I'm for the motion.
thank you. Councillor Porter. Councillor Ely. Oh, wait a minute, we haven't unmuted you.
Fine. There you go.
Sorry, Keith.
Against?
Against the motion. Thank you, Councillor Ely. Councillor Hume,
For.
thank you. Councillor Hewitt,
Against.
against the motion. Thank you, Councillor Hewitt. Councillor Graham,
Jill, are you trying to unmute?
I am, yeah. That's it. Come on.
Councillor Graham,
Against.
against. Thank you. Councillor MacDonald,
Against.
thank you, Councillor MacDonald. Councillor O'Rourke,
I think Councillor Rourke was indicating against.
there you go, we can
Against.
hear you now. Against.
Against.
Thank you. Councillor Kenworthy. You just need to unmute you, Councillor Kenworthy. There you go.
Okay, future multi-agenda AGM, yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Future AGM. with
An
multi-
AG, an
you're
annual
for the
meeting in
motion?
June.
In the future.
Thank you very much, Councillor Kenworthy. Councillor Haynes. Ron,
Against. Did you hear me?
no,
Yeah, that's
sorry.
against. You said against, didn't you,
against, yeah.
Councillor Haynes? Yeah.
Yeah, against. Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can, thank
Yeah, oh,
you.
that's all right then. I've been sitting here worrying.
Councillor Smith,
Can you hear us, Councillor Smith?
For.
for
Thank
the
you.
motion, thank you.
Yeah.
I lost count, so I have to deal with you. Oh, I am against the motion.
In that case, we've got 4 votes in favour and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 votes against.
Okay, so that
So-
motion falls. Do we then have to do a vote on putting the motion through?
Um,
Because it's like a foregone conclusion, I don't know.
well,
It's a conclusion. Do we
It
have to
is.
do?
it is, but yeah,
If I do that, I'll put on the table for us to take the recommendation to keep things as they are for until next year in May, when the election is.
I've got a poll to say we could use for that, Chair, if you prefer to. But I mean, it is a direct contradiction of the first motion, isn't it, really? But I think, yeah, I'll launch it anyway.
Okay. Did everyone understand that? That was then for the motion to keep it as the same, yeah?
So I'll just share the results.
Okay, so that motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, hold on, I've got to switch the screen. I can't read it, it's too small. I have to keep flicking it up and down. I do apologise.
Do you want me to read the motion that's been carried?
Yeah,
Or
that's
do you
for
want to-
clarification. I think that'd be good. Yes, that's what I was trying
So
to do.
that you, it's been resolved that the annual meeting is postponed and the appointment of the chair and vice chair is carried over to the annual meeting in 2021.
Okay, so we now move to approve the public participation arrangements for the policy of remote meetings. I think I might have to have it on another computer because the 2 screens is really hard. Sorry.
Sorry. So if I can speak to this, Chair, I think we need to just actually, I think we just need to step back a bit. So we've dealt with the issue of when the annual meeting is going to take place, but we still need to look at
all the standing orders and the virtual
standing orders and to approve the arrangements for virtual meetings if you're happy with them. Yes, please.
Okay, have you got a poll for that?
I have.
Is everybody happy to go straight for the poll? I've got no one indicating.
So the standing orders have just been amended to allow for remote meetings, that's all. Okay. And that's looks like everyone's voted.
Okay, so
everyone's voted and I will share the results.
So all in favour of that?
That's carried, yeah.
So is that fine to go on to?
And then the final one on this matter is to approve the arrangements already made and to keep the current arrangements under review. It looks as though everyone's happy with that. We've got 100% in favour of that one.
Okay, thank you. So now we can move on to.
Now we can move on to public participation.
Yeah. So is that a poll again? Has anybody got any questions on public participation? Because it's quite important.
Councillor Hughes.
Yeah, public participation in meetings is absolutely vital. It allows members of the public to come in and comment on the meeting and what's on the agenda, or to raise and maybe offer questions that they may have. I agree, we should be amending the public participation policy in terms of, as we've now changed how we work. So it's important that actually, because of how that needs to happen, with the member of the public being in the Zoom meeting, it is important that actually the members of the public notify the clerk beforehand. But I do think we should keep this under review once this situation has got, we're kind of out of it and we're maybe meeting face to face again, and we review that situation, because I do think sometimes people, especially as a town council, people don't necessarily know they want to speak until the day, or even just before the meeting when they see the agenda that they've come in to see. So in that sense, I think the motion is good. I think we need to have this, but I do think as a council we need to review it as and when we come out of this situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I've lost Councillor Smith. Is everybody else? Do you think she's lost her?
I think she's left us, or
I didn't want to lost her. Maybe
yeah, we've lost her. We have lost her.
We've lost her connection. Okay.
Or she's you know.
Okay, but hopefully she'll come back on.
She may come back. Yeah, she may come back.
Okay, so has anybody else got anything to speak on remote meetings for the public? You got the poll?
I have got a poll.
Okay, that's carried then, thank you. Okay, now we move on to item 8, which is to approve the committee structure and scheme of delegations for 2020-2021. Anybody wish to speak on this subject? I don't have anyone indicating to speak. So shall we go to the poll? Okay, thank you, everybody. We now move to item 9 to consider the revised calendar of meetings for 2021.
Before, Chairman, may I speak before you vote on this one? A matter's arisen this week which necessitates the calling of an extraordinary council meeting. And because we've not had any council meetings since the 3rd of March, there are several quite urgent decisions which it would be helpful to resolve as quickly as possible. These are decisions that need to be made by members and not officers. Therefore, I'd like to propose that you consider an amendment to the calendar I've put forward, and that next Tuesday, which is earmarked for an HR subcommittee, that there should be an extraordinary council meeting on that day, as well as or instead of the HR committee, the HR subcommittee, because we need to make an urgent decision about the floor at George Street and a couple of other things.
Okay, so the HR meeting, it's not affecting that, it's just the subcommittee one.
It's the HR subcommittee. The HR committee's been scheduled for later in the month because I knew that that date was likely to be subject to change, and I'd like us to have an extraordinary full council meeting to deal with those urgent matters, if that's acceptable to council, please.
Does anybody want to speak on that? Okay, you haven't got a poll for this one because we've just changed it, haven't we?
We've just changed it, but I've got a poll that says, are you happy with the revised calendar? I mean, it needs to be the revised calendar with that one change to it.
Okay, so do you want us to
just do a show of hands, maybe?
Yeah, show of hands.
But Michael wants to speak.
Oh,
Okay.
Michael wants to speak, beg your pardon. And Councillor Kelly Wilson.
Okay.
Just a tiny note on 22nd of September. I've got it down here as 0712 is the time. Just for a finance committee.
Yeah.
Just
I'll
for
correct
noting
that before I send it out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Correct that before it goes out.
Okay, and then we've got, I think Councillor Hume wishes to speak.
And Councillor Kelly Wilson, I think, wanted to speak at one stage.
They put their hand down.
He put his hand down. Sorry, Councillor Hume then.
Meeting before I was even born.
What?
I will correct it.
Okay, thanks for that. Okay, so if we do a show of hands, if possible, for the calendar that's been printed with the amendment on that date, and also changing next Tuesdays from a subcommittee to an extraordinary meeting of the full council. Okay, if I could have a show of hands of everyone who's in favour of that.
Can't see Councillor O'Rourke if he's indicated. Oh, he's done it electronically. Brilliant. I think everyone's in favour. Can't see Councillor Kenworthy at the moment. Can't see any indication from Councillor Kenworthy, but I think everyone else has indicated, Chair. I don't know if we've lost Councillor Kenworthy.
I keep going here. I keep losing video, and it happened last meeting for about 35 minutes as well. Like I didn't touch it, I just lose it. Just goes.
Okay, on my screen, I've got Councillor Hume, Councillor Kenworthy, Councillor Ely, Councillor MacDonald, Councillor Graham, Councillor Haynes that haven't put their hand up.
They did
physical.
They indicated physically. I think everyone indicated physically apart from Councillor Kenworthy.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So we're just.
I was looking for little hands. Okay, so that's carried then, so we can move on. Item 10 is to approve the insurance arrangements made by the Town Council to enter into a 2-year extension on the existing 3-year fixed price insurance agreement.
Would you like me to speak to this one, Chair?
Yeah, that'd be lovely, thank you.
The Town Council's been in a 3-year fixed price agreement with our current insurance providers, who are Zurich. When it came time to doing the procurement exercise this time, they offered us an additional 2 years on the existing contract, on the existing fixed price agreement. Now, when they say fixed price, what they mean is that the basic rate of premium will be the same for each year, but obviously if you change the cover, the premium will change, and there are some things that are out with the insurance company's control, such as the terrorism premium. Also, there is an allowance for a cost, you know, an inflationary increase, but you generally get a better premium by entering into a longer term agreement. However, because we'd been in a 3-year agreement with Zurich, I did go out to a number of other companies, and the nearest quote was 12% more than this year's premium, which is this last year's premium, which is in fact higher than the figure that's been quoted for next year by Zurich, because we've amended the cover. So none of the other insurers could come anywhere close to what Zurich are offering, and therefore, having consulted with the finance committee, I put forward the recommendation, which they agreed to, that we should enter into this 2-year agreement and then do another full procurement exercise in 2 years' time. Prior to doing that, I would also like the council to consider undertaking formal evaluations of properties, in particular George Street Community Centre and Fenny Chapel, which haven't been properly valued since they were taken on as community asset transfers, and that was 5 years ago. Therefore, it would be good practice to have them revalued during the next 2 years, so that at the next renewal, we've got a better indication of what it would cost to rebuild those buildings.
Thank you, Delia. Has anybody got any questions for Delia?
Councillor Graham, I think, wants to speak.
Okay.
Right.
Councillor Graham?
You've unmuted me for some reason.
Sorry,
I'm not touching anything.
It's me.
I'm letting Jill do it.
There you go.
Okay, finally. I just want to ask one question, Delia, and you've touched upon it anyway. Is the insurance, is it covering us for our assets? I mean, I know you've touched upon it, but is it going to be fit for purpose moving forward, you know, for all of our assets? And I mean, you have touched upon it, but that's, you know, the quote is the quote. I mean, if it's 12% more for another quote, then we should go with our existing provider. But again, you have touched upon it. Is it going to be fit for purpose, the level of cover that we've got for the future plans of the council and the assets? That's what I wanted to. But you
I believe so. With the proviso that I don't know how accurate the valuations of the chapel and George Street Community Centre are, but they were valued. They must have been valued when the council took them on in 2015, and that's how that figure got put on the asset register and on the insurance schedule. It's just that it's good practice to review them periodically.
My experience of insurance and stuff like that, you know, you might have the building, but the insurance would cover contents and what you're using the building for, and for that reason, you know, we have to look at looking at what we have in these buildings.
Well, I went through a very sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I went through a very careful procurement exercise, and Jill and Will helped me, as did Alison. We went through the asset register, which, as you know, we restated in March. So to the best of my ability and belief, the schedule that's in front of you provides a comprehensive cover for the council based on what we actually have and what our actual services and activities are.
Okay.
Okay, so if I could put a motion that we go with the current insurance provider until the next couple of years.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Graham. Does anybody else wish to speak? Okay. So nobody has anything else to say. So I will second that motion then, if nobody else wants to. So we can go for a poll on that one.
I have got a poll. It's not worded quite exactly the same. I think if you look at it, it is pretty much the same.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we shall move on to the next item, which is item 11, to receive the financial report for the period of the 3rd of March to the end of the financial year 2019-2020, and to approve any recommendation herein.
Yes, Chair, there aren't any recommendations therein. So that was put on the agenda before I'd finished the report in case there were any, but there aren't any.
Okay, Councillor Hume wishes to speak.
Yeah, it's slightly on the previous one, but I do have a point on this one. It's maybe a bit more of a point forward of how we do remote meetings.
Okay.
We've done a poll, just because I've got the Facebook screen in front of me. Can we make sure we say what the outcome of that poll was? Because it's not visible on the Facebook Live.
Oh, is it not?
No.
No,
Okay.
that's very helpful. Thank you. That's
Yeah,
very helpful feedback.
Like you were watching, we voted in favour of the previous motion.
Yes, thank you for that. I didn't know. I thought it was going up. So thank you.
That's okay. That's okay. Just one point to note, I think, on this financial report for the end of the year, and for me, I think I think we can explain it, and I think that's okay in terms of some of the differences that we've had on our costs. But we put our budget was to put 66,000 into reserves, and we've actually put in into general reserves. We've put in 260,000. So I do think that is something that we should be aware of. I know a lot of the differences come from the changes in the restructure of the staffing, and this may well be different this year in terms of how we've budgeted for this year. And it may also be helpful given the current situation where we've now got a loss of income from potentially from some council tax, but also from some of our Newton Leys Pavilion in particular. But I do think it's something that we need to be aware of, and we need to think about how we do budget in the future to ensure that we try and not get those sort of levels of reserves.
And use them, yeah, absolutely.
It's not good for it's not necessarily good for the taxpayer, and we just need to think about that.
Yeah, may I speak, Chair?
Yes, certainly.
Yeah, I agree. When we come later on to look at the annual return, you'll see in the papers that I've had to provide an explanation to the auditor of the high reserves, which are the consequence of the underspend on the budget this year. I think there are genuine reasons why the budget was underspent, and you can see them explained in that report. But yes, I think it's really important that we don't repeat an underspend like that.
Okay, does anybody else wish to speak? Okay, do you have a poll for us to agree that?
I do. So for the benefit of the Facebook viewers, the motion is to note the financial reports to the end of the financial year, 2019 to 2020.
And that motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, so we now move on to item 12 to approve the list of payments made or due to be made in the period the 3rd of March 2020 to the current date.
Yes, that's in the pack. I don't know if anyone's got any questions. Councillor Kelly Wilson is wishing to speak, I think.
I won't mention the names, but there's a lot of unusually there is a lot of names in the list of payments, you know, with initials and a surname. I'm guessing that they are refunds from Newton Lees Pavilion for deposits, etc.
There may be. We are required to list all our payments. Receipts are a different matter, but when we make payments, we are required to list them. That is a very good point. I will look into that from a GDPR point of view, because that, yeah, that is a concern. Councillor Hume wishes to speak.
Councillor Hume.
I do want to, whilst we wouldn't necessarily talk about this item in the session of excluding the members of the public, but this particular paper potentially could be excluded from members of the public, just to protect that. I mean, yeah, we can probably consolidate them.
It was raised before, wasn't there? We did have some advice on it, but I can't recall what the actual...
Well, the advice is that if we've made a payment to an individual, it should be listed, unless it falls into one of the exemptions within the relevant data protection or freedom of, data protection legislation.
Okay.
And obviously it's a combination of the data protection and the financial regulations and so on. I remember the particular case that was raised before concerned an individual whose name was actually the name of his business, so that was definitely justifiable. I think the thing that is an issue with these is that if they are refunds from deposits, then there must be an argument for them not being in the public domain, I would think.
It should just say refund of deposit.
Yeah, we must be able to find a way of redacting that. I can only apologise and say we'll look at that. Councillor Kelly Wilson wishes to say more.
I was just going to say, I think that perhaps a way of dealing with that is to write insert the booking number, because you've got a link back to the individual, and the individual's name will be in the booking system. But it doesn't need to go on. It doesn't need to go in this list.
That's a very good suggestion. Thank you.
I'll have a look at that and then find out what the advice is first. Councillor Hume, you were cut off.
Oh.
You were cut off.
No, that's fine. I think I said what I needed to say, so that's fine.
My computer's gone really strange, as everyone else's. It's like someone's taken it over.
Keith's taken. Were you reviewing Keith's screen? Yes, Keith has shared his screen with us.
Who did?
Keith.
Keith. I've lost everything now.
Yeah, we've got Keith's. I thought we hadn't got screen sharing on actually. Okay.
How do I get everybody back? I'm sorry.
I think Keith has to do it. But I can't see Keith to unmute him. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. There you go. It's taken off now.
Oh,
there you go.
Oh.
The power.
We live and learn.
I just saw everything disappear. It was really strange. Okay, so I'm sorry, I've forgotten where we're at now. So we've got to approve the list of payments. So do you have a poll for that? This is to approve the list of payments due to be made for the period from the 3rd of March 2020 to the current date. Just on that question, oh, that was carried. That motion was carried. Just on that question, just for my, obviously I approve a lot of the payments once they've gone through, but I usually have to look at paper and sign them all. So I assume that's all stacking up. So is that within the?
It is all stacking up. I haven't been able to sign all the invoices and things either. So I have been completing a spreadsheet to authorise them. We've got all the paperwork that's stacking up for you, and they'll need to be completed on paper as well as having been done electronically. So it will be stacking up.
Okay, I'll talk to you outside meeting to arrange maybe to do that.
To do it, yeah.
Otherwise it'd be too much.
Yeah.
Okay, to move on to item 13, which is the annual governance accountability return. Okay.
Yes.
Do it in
you've got the internal audit report first before you get onto the annual return.
So to note the final internal audit report 2019-2020 completed remotely by Audit Solutions Limited. Has everybody had a chance to look at that? Anybody got any questions? Have you got a poll for each one, Delia?
I have.
So the first one is to do the final audit.
Yeah.
That motion is carried. Or that?
Yeah.
Right word. Okay, the next is to approve the section 1 of the councillors 2019-20, is it AGAR?
Yes, or AGAR is what people tend to say. So this is section 1 of the AGAR. So you will see that there is a photocopy or rather a picture of the part of the AGAR which the internal auditor has completed to say that he is satisfied. And then I have pre-completed section 1, which is the governance statement, and I've marked all the boxes in the affirmative to indicate that the council has done everything that it should have done. But you need to be satisfied as a council that those answers are correct and that you have complied with all your governance responsibilities. That I can launch a poll on that part of the AGAR, and if it's approved, then we'll need to make arrangements at a later date for both me and the chairman to sign that part of the documentation.
Okay, has anybody got any questions or anything they want to raise? Okay, so we will launch the poll on that part of the AGAR. That motion is carried. Thank you. So now we move on to approve the section 2 of the council's AGAR for 2019-2020, the accounting statements.
Yes, so you can see that I have completed the actual form, which is based on the results that came from the computer system and that have been checked by our internal auditor. And there's also with those papers the explanation of the variances from the previous year, including that underspend, and there is also an explanation of the high level of reserves.
Okay. Okay, that is agreed.
Did everyone actually manage to vote? Sharon, can I just ask if I can relaunch that poll? Because I'm not sure everyone voted on that. Can I just relaunch?
Yes, please.
Please, could I ask everyone to vote again? And share the results. That's more accurate. That's an accurate. This time I've got everybody this time. So that the approval of that section of the accounting statements is carried.
Carried.
With one abstention.
Thank you. Okay, close. Thank you for that. Then we've got to note the publication requirements of the timetable for the period of exercising public rights and notification of conclusions of the audit and publication of the external account audit and certificate.
Yeah, so this is just to for you to confirm that you've noted the timetable that's going to be followed for the publication of the notices and the conclusion of the audit, which has to be publicised so that electors can, if necessary and if they want to, demand to see any of the relevant accounting papers, and they will know when to expect roughly the outcome of the external audit. So you've got that timetable in front of you, and I've got a poll for you to vote on.
So that motion is carried as well, 100%. Thank you. My agenda comes to an end now.
Yes. Yes, that's the end of the business that's there. I would just say that I don't know if councillors noted. I think Councillor Smith must have had to go, and there was also a note that came through during the meeting from Councillor Porter saying that he had to leave midway through the meeting.
Okay, if that's the end of the meeting, I'll bring the meeting to a close. And I'd like to thank you all for your time and participation today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.